So, Guest1337's rework was finally released. My opinion on Guest changed with my playtime, so if you go into my channel you'll notice how I switched from hating Guest to liking Guest to again hating Guest. I recommend checking out all 3 videos as they're pretty good on their own and some of my points still stand to this day. Before the update, Guest hadn't changed much at all. All they did was make projectiles unblockable, made parry faster, made charge have a global cooldown, and made blocks cooldown longer. This rework though rebalances the entire kit to make his skill floor lower and to slightly nerf his skill ceiling. Let's go over the changes. Guest's HP has decreased by 5. If you think it's a small change, you'll be absolutely correct. The only major thing that changes is the John Doe interaction. John now takes 4 hits to kill Guests instead of 5 previously, however it is still unnoticeable because Guest players used to take damage from his trail and remove that advantage anyways. His 2 passives are now located in his info. Very important stuff as this is something you would find out online, and the second passive is especially important to know. Now let's move on to the moveset. Guest's block was reduced by 3 seconds. The initial rework had his block cooldown reduced by 6 seconds, but that was reverted in the hotfix. Block is now significantly less punishing to miss, slowing Guest down by 50% instead of 80 and end lag lasting 0.75 seconds instead of 1. Block was also heavily buffed by giving Guest 10 permanent overheal HP upon landing a block. Overheal HP stacks to 30, giving Guest1337 a maximum of 140 HP. Block can now only fully negate the damage of a basic M1 attack and M1 extensions like Eviscerate. The devlog mentions other M1 extensions, but there literally aren't any other M1 extensions other than Eviscerate and maybe Raging Pace M1, so I'm not sure why they put it there. Anyways, if a Guest gets hit by any other type of attack, Guest will only get Resistance 2 that lingers for 3 seconds and immediately drop his block. On one hand, this seems sketchy as Guest can't block dash swap anymore, and it sadly includes slasher abilities like Behead or Gashing Wound. On another hand, it makes Guest even less punishable on a missed block, because if you make an incorrect guess and block a projectile, Guest doesn't stand still like a moron. This also makes more sense as a team player, because blocking a dashing attack doesn't result in you putting your team in danger and makes playing killer against Guest1337 a lot more bearable. Guest's charge has been buffed, knocking the killer back more, now comparable to Veronica's bumper mode. Charge doesn't stagger the killer or Guest, making the pushback a lot smoother. In return, it no longer inflicts helpless onto the killer. That's pretty much it. Punch is where the main stuff of the rework shows. Punch is now an ability with a 60-second cooldown instead of being locked behind landing a block. Punch doesn't give any resistance anymore and it doesn't stun, only applying slowness 2 and helpless for 2 seconds. Its windup was shortened to 0.6 seconds and it doesn't pierce enemies anymore. Parry punches were also changed, now giving way more pushback than charge or bumper skate, but its stun time was reduced to 2 seconds. One thing that isn't mentioned in the changelog but very noticeable in gameplay is the fact that block now slows the killer down dramatically for about half a second, making parry punches basically guaranteed to land. I'm not sure why they did this, but I'm happy that they did, and I hope this doesn't get changed the moment a mod sees this video, because then I'll be known as the party pooper for all the Guest players. Nevertheless, many people said that Guest is now weaker than ever and is the worst survivor in the game now. People argued that Guest's parry now only lasts 2 seconds, making him weak, or the fact that punch no longer stuns the killer. People say that Guest doesn't have much stopping power anymore, and that he's more of a hindrance rather than a direct threat like any other sentinel. His debuffs are weak, his balance changes nerfed him, his rework doesn't suit his character as his movie version was fearsome and tough while the Forsaken version is weak and easily killable, and overall brought the character way down in the tier list and enjoyability. But is that really the case? These changes weren't made to nerf Guest, at least not directly. In the balancing philosophy paragraph of the changelog, the devs mention how Guest should be a team-based sentinel instead of being a good survivalist. His parry punches were adjusted for casual players. They give health now, are less punishable, but in return stun for less. They don't block dashes or grabs anymore, which sucks in solo, but allow a lot more team saving than before. Punches, while not providing much, are a good way to draw aggro on yourself, like using a punch after a killer is stunned to give them slowness on wake up. Rebalancing the kit around punch always being around means Guest's potential is spread evenly across his entire kit, instead of betting everything on a parry punch. If you look into my previous videos on Guest and go to the balancing section, you'll find something interesting. In this video I said that Guest should get his HP reduced, but in return he will get overheal HP back upon landing a block. Sounds familiar, isn't it? Well, the devs achieved something else that also appeared in that video. They buffed the guest players. Because of all the changes that made our Sentinel less risky to play, my anxiety when playing faded nearly instantly. For most, it wouldn't matter much. Yes, he would perform slightly better, but for me, this small little change finally unlocked my full potential. In other words,
I finally found what a place where I can be without because I am a stranger who is found in even stranger war. I finally found what I was looking for.
Guest suddenly became really good. Yeah, he might not be as good of a stunner like he used to be, but he's so much more fun to play. The 1.5 second lower stun time isn't that detrimental, as parry is basically guaranteed and the pushback makes up for it. People talk less about how it indirectly leads to a stamina disadvantage since the killer has to walk more. You're also way more offensive than you were previously. Before the changes, all you could do was charge and then try to hit a block for a parry. Now you can punch, then charge, and then try to hit a block and then parry. Landing a charge or a punch is pretty easy, and since blocking an attack is now way easier, it's genuinely peak. I know that some might say that 3.5 second stun time that was there previously is a lot better than just more pushback, but one thing you fail to realize is that blocks either way are pretty difficult to land. It was the same thing back then and it is right now. However, with the rework, block is less punishable, so you're allowed to make more mistakes before dying. The techs I've shown previously, like hitbox dragging, while yes, are really popular in the community, are incredibly difficult to actually pull off. I have over 30 days in Forsaken and I'm only now finally getting a grasp on how to do these techs. What I'm trying to say is that it doesn't matter that pre-reworked Guest had better performance as a stunner if you had less success with him. It doesn't matter that you have a 3.5 second stun time if you miss your blocks and then die instantly right after. The current Guest gameplay allows a lot more mistakes to be made, which opens up a lot more opportunities for you to actually help your team. Now, I will say that Guest as a stunner became worse. However, every single other part of him has been buffed. He can now save his teammates better, he now has better survivability, and now he's less of a potential man than he used to be. All of my character videos end on balance changes I would like the character to have. This video is no exception, but this part won't be long. A funny change I would like to propose is that normal punches now rotate the killer's camera a bit, throwing them off. Like, they're taking a punch to the face, come on. Overall, the rework is a 9 out of 10. The mechanics are fun to play around while not making the Guest too weak for it to be insufferable to play as. The ability to block attacks for your team is also very good for team play, and even though most say it sucks, I would say it's even better than what it was previously. The only bad thing is that you get no resistance for punch, but to be honest, it's there just to keep things fair, so I don't mind it much. With that said, you reached the end of this video. If you liked it, then subscribe because I was able to entertain you for so long, and we're also approaching 10,000 subscribers, and I'd appreciate us reaching this milestone. If you have any counter arguments to anything I've said, then let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.